Good afternoon, everybody. We have a very special session today on Adobe. And we last week we had attended Adobe Max session, where whole those 2 days event was about new features on Adobe softwares. Today we have Mr. Chetan Jadhav from Adobe exclusively talking on these features, special features on Adobe design softwares.
Good morning, team. Arch College. Good to have so many participants, around 50. And today's session is going to be an exciting session where I will be showing you some of the new tools that Adobe is having so that you can do your creative stuff very easily. Now, I'm planning to show some of the tools which are a little bit older, maybe around 6 months back, but even those are very important. I want to make sure that you are aware of the tool sets that are available. So I'm planning to show Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Adobe XD, Dimensions, Aero, Capture. The list is non-stop, but I just have around 1 hour of time, maybe maximum 1 or 10 minutes, where I'll also take some of your question and answer sessions. If you have any doubts regarding today's, and yeah, I think a lot of much to show, and let me get started with my solution. I'm starting with Photoshop, which is everybody's favorite. Photoshop is one of the tools that can be used across everywhere, like design, animation, drawing, whatever application you say, Photoshop will always be there to create those creatives. Now, one of the tools that is new in Photoshop is the sky replacement. Now, one of the very common tasks in Photoshop is you take a photograph, the sky is not that appealing. You want to replace the sky. Now, generally what happens is that, let's say this is the photo I want to replace the sky. The photo is good, the sky is not that appealing. So what I do is I bring another image of the sky. I remove the existing sky using some of the tools and I replace it, right? Now that was good, but that was taking around 10 steps or maybe 20 steps, depending on what look and feel you want for a sky. But now in newer versions of Photoshop, we have done it very simple. So what I've done is, this is the layer which I have active right now. Let's say I want to do a very quick sky replacement. So I'll just go to edit. Okay, what I'll also recommend is that you keep notes of what I'm talking. For example, I talk about sky replacement. You write it down in your pen and a paper, take down notes so that you can go back to your workstations and you can explore what I showed you. What I'm showing you right now is just the tip of the iceberg. Later on, you can go to your workstation and you can explore these features. Okay, so for this particular sky replacement, I'll go to edit, and here I have this option called as sky replacement. So I click here. What will happen is that I get this panel of sky replacement, and that's it. You see my sky got replaced with this particular sky, which I have in my drop down. And not only that, I can go and see further options of what different type of skies I have. And maybe this is a good sky I want in my shot. I'll click here. You see the sky will get updated. Not only the sky will get updated, also your image will also get that particular color theme. So if there is an evening sky, your original photo will also get adjusted depending on the lighting of the sky. So maybe if I take another dark theme here, you see the light tint on the actual house also got changed because that is the type of sky you selected. Okay, so this was a very quick fix. So once you select your sky, you still have other options like adjusting the temperature, adjusting the scaling of your sky. You got other foreground and background adjustments. You can just explore these depending on your requirement and just click on OK, so that you will have a new layer. So here you'll see that the original layer is unaffected, but you also have certain other layers which are sitting on top of your original layer. That means your original artwork is not damaged. You have these masks available so that you can come down and you can also work on top of these existing masks. So this was the sky replacement. Now, one of the very common things to talk about in the session is the Adobe Artificial Intelligence technology that will help you to get your work done faster. Now, that technology of artificial intelligence that Adobe has is called as Adobe Sensei. What we did right now is we are actually using that technology at the background. That means automatically the sky pixels are detected and the sky has been replaced. There are other tools which I'll be showing you, which also uses the same artificial intelligence technique. Let me show you one of the common tasks that you do in Photoshop is basically you select objects, right? So if I come to one of my demo files for Photoshop, yeah. One of the very common tasks that you do is you want to select characters. Now, for example, if these are the two characters, if I want to select the characters, not a problem. I can just go to select and I just click on subject. If I click on subject, automatically that intelligence will identify that there are two characters in the scene, and automatically both of the characters got selected. What if you want only the lady girl character here? So not a problem. You have the tool called as object select tool, and you just drag a box around the girl, and only the girl will be selected. So these are some of the tools that Adobe not recently means I would say within around 10 months so far, or maybe a little more than 10 months. Maybe a year or so. But I want to make sure that you people are aware of these tools. Another common task that you do in Photoshop is you remove the background. So if this is the photo selected, I want to remove the background. So in the properties panel, here I have a button called as remove background. So with the click of a button, Photoshop's intelligence will identify and you see the background is removed. So what I can do is I can come back and I can have any sort of background. So maybe I can come to a gradient and add a gradient in the backdrop. So these are some of the new features which recently came out in the year, and some of the features got improved in the Max release. Now, one of the features that got improved is the refine hair. Here, if you want to select all of these fine details of the hair, it's very, very simple now. It was simple also, but now it's more simpler. So I can come to my object select. I select my object, which is the girl in this particular example. And I think this particular thing is blocking my way. So let me hide the floating panel. Yeah. Okay, so once the girl is selected, I click on select and mask. And on the next screen, here I have an option called as refine hair. Note it down. So if I zoom in here, you'll see that these particular areas are very, very sharp. The soft hair is not got selected very well. So not a problem, click on the refine hair. And now you'll see that all those fine hair data, fine hair pixels are got selected. So this is what are some of the improvements that happened recently at Adobe Max. The other things I want to show you, this is one of my favorite features. I may not be able to show you real time because it depends on your internet connection. So this is my photograph. I want to make my photograph more smiley, or I want to change the direction of my look, or I want to turn my head. You cannot do it in a photograph, but now it is possible. That is possible. Maybe you want to make yourself more aged, right? That this was a trend that happened a few months back. You were trying to upload your photo and you are trying to make yourself older, right? So that is possible now in Photoshop itself. So that is called as the neural filters, neural, N-E-U-R-A-L. So neural filters, you click on that. The neural filters panel will open up. And if you click on the beta filters, now these are beta filters. These are still not ready for production, but this is good to test. These are some of the beta filters available where you can have a smart portrait. Here you see that you're converting this man into an older man. So you enable this particular feature, and these are certain parameters that you can try. So let's say I want to make myself older. So I click on the facial age, or maybe I can use some of the surprise. Okay, let me make sure I'm on a selected correct layer here. Just a second, just give me a few seconds. I'll make this one into a little lower resolution so that our processing happens faster onto the cloud. Okay, so I select the layer here and I go back to my neural filters. I go back again to my beta smart portrait and I enable the facial age. I'll increase that to around 43 or so. Now this data is actually getting processed onto the cloud, and maybe very soon I'll see an older version of my own self. Now this is going on to the internet. I don't know, my net is not the best in the world, but you can definitely try this out. Just install the latest version of Photoshop and you should be able to use these features. Now, Let it process by the time. What I can show you is another feature within the neural filters is you can take a black and white photograph and you can with the click of a button you can colorize that black and white photo. So I tried it with a couple of my ancestors, late ancestors photo, and it did a good job. But let me show you. Okay, I'll cancel this particular demo right now for the neural filters, but I can go back to one of my black and white photos. Now, this is one of the photographs which I just had some time back. This was a black and white photo. This was not a digital photo that was converted into black and white. This was actually a black and white photo, right? Uh, how do I colorize the photo? I don't know what is the color of the branches. I don't know what are the color of the grasses, the trees, and the deer itself. But let me try the neural filters. So I'll go to filter, neural filters, and it's loading up. So I'll just have to go to beta, and this time I'll go to colorize. So I'll enable the colorize with a click of button, bang on. You can see this particular photograph in color mode. Just if you're not happy with the colors, not a problem. You can go back and you can correct the colors of cyan, blue, magenta, so on and so forth. So just try it out. I think this is one of my favorite, most exciting feature I saw in this particular release. And okay, so this is about Photoshop. Okay, guys, I just want to try to make it interactive. Just type a +1 onto the chat if everything is going fine. +1, like in terms of you're able to see my screen, there is no audio lag. You are following what I'm saying. If that is the case, just type +1 on the chat.
Mr. Jadhav,
see the messages? Yes, sir.
There's one more feature in neural filter where you can actually rotate the direction of face.
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah,
was
I was not able to show that. Yeah, I was not able to show that because it's taking time to go to the cloud. So I'll just show you again. I tried it many times, but today it's not happening. So there is something called as, okay. So here in the smart portrait, here you have the head direction, right?
Yes.
So just enable the head direction. I'll put it maybe 24. Today it's taking some time. My net is not at the best of the world. But that's the reason it was taking a lot of time to process. So I had to cancel that particular process. So you can also change the light direction. You can also work on the hair thickness. You want to make me bald, or you also want to change the gazing. Means if I'm looking straight, I can make myself look little bit right or look little bit left. Not the head turn. You can do it, but also I can work on my head gaze. Sorry, the gaze of my eyes. Okay, so should I go with the next part of Illustrator and design? So in Max, there are a lot of new features available, but there are a lot of other tools which were earlier than Max, which people are not aware of. That's the reason I'm taking a mix of sessions of the best features of Max, along with some of the little older features around this 1 year's of span of time, because both of these together will really make your life very, very simple. Okay, now come to Illustrator. One of the best features that happened within Illustrator is now we also have Illustrator for iPad. Now I can show you a gist of Adobe Illustrator on the iPad, but I'll see how I can screen share to the best of my ability. There is some internet issue at my side today. I don't know what happened, but if I share my screen, okay. So I hope you are able to see my iPad screen. What I'll now show is I'll just show you a glimpse of iPad Illustrator. Now, Illustrator itself will take around 1 hour of session to show you what Illustrator can do, but this is just to give an idea. So here you will see Illustrator on the bottom right, and I'm using my style pen here. If you remember, we also have iPad, Photoshop for iPad, right? Where you can actually do image compositing, and that particular file is actually stored on the cloud. Meaning, if you go back to your Photoshop desktop, you can still access the file that you created on Photoshop for iPad. Similarly, we have Illustrator for iPad. The documents are being saved on the cloud, so that if you come back to your Illustrator for desktop, you can use the same file that you created in Illustrator for iPad.
So Mr. Jadhav, when I say Photoshop for iPad or Illustrator for iPad, so only difference is saving the document on the cloud. Rest feature remains same, right?
No. Features will also differ because this is a mobile application that you're working on a tablet. In terms of, there are certain so the features will be, see, these are very, very new applications. not say Photoshop has 1,000 features, not all 1,000 features reside on the iPad application, but slowly and steadily we'll be trying to get those features also within the tablet devices, because see, hardware is and internet connection is the big concern. But anyways, we've got some really nice tools available which you can create, start and finish within your iPad itself. You don't need to go to Photoshop. So similarly here you have the pen tool, you have the selection tool, you have the eraser, you've got your shape tools, you've got your text tools, and you can also work on the colors and all. Let me give a very simple example here. So for example, let me just delete this one. So if I want to create a simple pattern, right? So I can just come to my pencil tool and I can change the color. Okay, maybe let's say this is one of the designs I created, but I can also use some of these tools, which are amazing in the iPad. So this is some of the repeat tools. So I've got repeat, radial, grid, and mirror. So if I use radial, you'll see that I've got these radial tools available, which I can create patterns and I can size it up and I can keep it somewhere else. If not this, I can also use some of the other tools within the radial, not radial, within the repeat. So I've got other tools like repeat a grid. So now I can have multiple available in a grid. If this is not enough, you also have the symmetry tool. So if I have mirror tool here, so I click on mirror, this is the mirror which I can have in place. And these are live, right? So if I come here, I change one of the portions, the other will also get updated. And this is actually getting stored onto the cloud. So if I go back, you see that it's getting saved onto the cloud. So if I go back to my Illustrator desktop version, I can still access this particular artwork. Now, I'm not getting crazy with Illustrator right now. I just have to cover a lot of the other tools. So I'll come back to my Illustrator here. And if I go back to my home tab, oh yeah, again, the internet will come into picture. And let's see if I'm able to sync that particular artwork here. So this was the artwork which I created yesterday. Don't judge my design skills from here, but I was just testing the cloud. But this particular document will also soon should get synced. Anyways, let's go back to the desktop version of Illustrator and see some of the new features within Illustrator. So what I can do is I can show you the recolor artwork feature, which is the brand new feature at Adobe Max. Now you have certain of your artworks in which you have given some color themes, but let's say you are inspired by some other color themes and you want to apply that theme into your artwork. That is very easily possible now with the new versions of Illustrator. So this is one of the parrot image, which which I was really influenced in terms of the colors that are present within the parrot. And this is some of the artworks that I was able to create, but I want to put these colors into my artwork. That is possible using the recolor artwork. Now, recolor artwork was also there earlier, but now it is better. So if I click on my existing design, I click on the recolor artwork, I get this particular panel. It will show me the existing colors which are in my artwork. But if I click on color theme picker, now I can click on the parrot artwork so that those colors will get shifted onto my artwork. So I click here and bang on, you see that those colors transferred to my existing artwork. Maybe there's a situation I don't want all the colors of the parrot. Maybe I like the head of that parrot. I just want those colors which is on the face of the parrot. So if I go back, and what I'll do is I will draw using this tool, and only the colors which are present within that particular portion. So if I come to the color set picker, I just need to draw the portion of the color that I need into my artwork, and that will be updated. So that the blue color is not coming in my artwork because I did not select the blue color there. So this was about the recolor artwork. Just give me 1 second. The other things I want to show you here is the feature that was just released before the Max, but it is an amazing feature. This was around a year back, but I think you should not. So this was called as the global edit feature. So if I go back to one of my sample files to show you how this works, I have an artwork here, and These are some of the icons of these are some of the logos which were created. Now the customer will tell you, can you change the color of the logo or can you make certain changes in the logo? Now the problem would be that you will have to go to each and every logo and make the changes, but you don't have to do it because we have got that artificial intelligence available to help us do this quickly. So instead of selecting all the logos and changing the color to red, what I'll do is I'll select one of the logos, this one I selected, and I'll go to the properties panel, and here there is an option called as Start Global Edit. Make a note of this. So I click on Start Global Edit, and you see that it automatically selects all the logos which is there in my different artboards of my single Illustrator file. Simple. Now I can come to my fill and I can change the color to red, and you'll see that all the logos will become red. Not only the color changes, you can also do structural modifications. For example, I select this particular artwork, I want to rotate it. So I again select that particular artwork, click on Global Edit, I rotate that, and you see that all of the other pieces will also rotate. So this is Start Global Edit. I really encourage you people to try this out. Okay, so this was the Illustrator thing which I wanted to showcase. Okay,
quick question. Does this feature also work in InDesign?
This is Illustrator. This is Illustrator specific feature.
And this feature apply in all files which have particular element or logo.
Yes.
Not only in
Illustrator file.
Illustrator file. In all Illustrator file. Means suppose we have 5 files in Illustrator, and in all 5 files the same logo is present, and if we change in only one file, can we change in all files?
No. That is a different workflow. In this particular example, these files are offline files. They are not connected.
Okay.
So it will happen in one file, but it will happen in all the artwork. You might have multiple artboards, right? So all the artboards will get that update.
So it can still be done. Let's say what sir is trying to say is that there are 5 files. If I get all the 5 artboards into a single file and then do a global edit, then it would work.
Yeah. Yes, it would work. Okay.
For that, you have to import all the artwork into the single file.
Yes.
Okay.
I think I should now step on to InDesign. Okay, what I was trying to say is that after the session, what you can do is you can go to Adobe website and see what are the latest features available. Because what I'm showing you in this 1 hour session, I won't be able to show you everything. So for example, let's say you want to see what more features are available in Illustrator. So just go to Google and type Illustrator new features help X. Don't forget to type help X in the end. Otherwise, you will see all the articles from all the different people around the world. But if you type help X, these are actually from the Adobe websites. So here you'll see that new and enhanced features, latest release of Illustrator. Similarly, you can see for Photoshop and all the other Adobe applications. So if you click on Illustrator in this example, you see that the different options are available. Like there's an Illustrator for iPad. You click on the detailed overview and it will actually show you. This was the recolor artwork which I was able to show. There are other features available, like now your snapping has become better. Your typing options are available. These are enhanced type tools. But I am stepping on to other features, but these are some features which you can do it yourself also as a self-study. So after the session, I really encourage you people to come to the HelpX articles and explore some of the other features. Okay, so I think it's a good time for me to hop on to InDesign. Perfect. Now let's see some of the Photoshop things within, not Photoshop thing, some of the similar Photoshop features within, not features also, similar Photoshop technologies within InDesign. Now, what I mean to say is that in this particular artwork of InDesign, I have this particular text and I've got this particular photo of a model around. I want the text to warp around the character. Right now it is superimposing on the character. But how will I warp it around the character that you see in certain magazines and other flyers, right? Now, simple, what you have to do is you have to select the image layer, which is to whomever you want to give the warp. And in the text warp option, in the text warp panel, here you have the warp around shape option. Click on that. But what you will see that the entire text is gone. Actually, the text is gone behind the image because you have yet not defined that the text should be warped around the character. Will tell that. That is from the contour options. So in the contour option, here you have an option called as select subject. You remember in Photoshop also we have select subject, which will automatically identify the subject. So the subject can be a character with a background. It could be an apple on the table, so it automatically identifies the apple. It can be a car on the road, so it identifies the car as the subject. Similarly here, if I click on select subject, it will identify that this particular model is the character, whom around the text you need to warp. Click on select subject. That's it, bang on. Now you see the text is actually warping around the character. Not only that, you can still come here and use some of the indent options, like how far they should be, because here you'll see that there is this particular line which is actually defining contour. So you can come here and you can change these boundaries and your text will automatically be warped depending on how you draw it around. So this is a brand new Max feature for InDesign. Okay, this is a very exciting feature to try it out. There is another feature which is really nice. That is called as share and review. Now, this is, let's say this is the artwork which I need to share with my colleagues. Maybe I want to share it with my friends, or maybe I want to share it with my faculty, or maybe I want to share it with a customer. So what generally people do is that once the artwork is done in InDesign, they export a PDF. They attach that PDF to the email. They send that email to the customer, or they'll send it to 10 people. All the 10 people will reply to that email, and your email will go big and big, and you will be having a very bad time of identifying who replied what and what are the different corrections on my artwork. That has been simplified now using the share and review. Now, this is again internet specific, but because the cloud, because the online session is going on, video screen sharing is there, some other stuff is getting synced on the background. Let's see if this feature works well, but I'll give you the idea what this happens. Now here, you have this particular option called as share and review. So this is, let's say this is the artwork that I want to share with my customers. So here I have the share option. I click on share. Okay, I want to share for review. So I click on share for review, and here it will ask me the title of my artwork. So it's share and review test. Then I click on create. So what happens is that this particular InDesign file, it's actually getting uploaded onto the Adobe Cloud servers. And now I'll put the email IDs of the who I want to share this particular file. Now this is going to be a PDF sort of file, not an InDesign artwork, right? Because customers may not be creative, they don't have the InDesign capabilities. So here I'll put my own email ID, which is jadhav@adobe.com. I can also add on people. Let's say I'll put signer1@hotmail.com. I can also type a message, whatever it is, and I click on invite. So what happens is that both of the people will get an invitation that Chetan Jadhav has shared this particular artwork. So these are the two people. So if I go to my email, let me see. It all depends how fast is your internet, right? So I'm just checking, having a look. I have yet not got an email, but I've tested out offline, like without a screen share. I immediately get an email notification that Chetan Jadhav has shared so and so file. The file will have a link. That link will open this document in a browser. I have to sign in with my Adobe credentials. Then I can give a comments, like I can have a pen where I can mark, I have a highlighter, I have an underline text, I have a strike through text, and whatever comment I put on the browser, it will automatically come in my review panel of InDesign, so that I don't have to go to emails and check and all of that thing. All of the comments, all different people will all come in the review panel here. This is exciting. This is, yeah, see that I got an email notification. Chetan Jadhav was invited to view so on and so. I've not got it on my other email, but anyways, I'll show you how it looks. So I'll go on to open with Safari. and we'll wait for that to come up. I might need to, yes, I might need to log in here. Okay, now that particular InDesign artwork will open up in my browser. It's basically a PDF sort of format. So the customer don't need InDesign installed because it's opening up in the browser. Now the document is getting opened up, and it's very tough to show cloud features, especially when you're doing a screen share with a video and there are so many people around. Okay, so you see that this particular artwork opened up in my browser, and I've got all of these different comment tools on top. Maybe I want to put a logo here. So as a customer, I'll take a pen, I'll draw a shape here, and I'll say, put logo here. I click on submit. Then I can come down to another highlight text. I'll highlight this text. I'll say change font to Times New Roman. In fact, it looks Times New Roman, so I'll say change it to Arial bold. Click on submit. Now all of this is actually going to be within my InDesign panel. Now let's see how fast it syncs, but let me take a chance, go to InDesign. That's it. In my InDesign review panel, you see both of the comments that are given, and also you see the text marker. And also if you click on the comment, it will take you to that particular marker of, so I don't have to go to my email and manually keep a check that where on my artwork is this correction mentioned. So this is very easy to get all the corrections at one place, also track the corrections. Once you do the corrections, you can also come here and say that this correction is resolved. So after you put a logo, you want to get rid of this correction, click on resolve. And so you are also having a good track of how well you have done your corrections. So this is another latest feature within InDesign. How cool is this? Okay, one last thing I want to show within InDesign is not the latest feature of Max, but something which you should know about, where the artificial intelligence technique is coming in. It's a very common scenario where if you have done certain artwork, customer will tell you that, hey, can you change this? Can you change that? That's fine. But what if we have done the artwork in a portrait format and customer will tell you, hey, this is A4 size. Can you do it A5 or can you do A3? Not a problem, but you will have to manually go and change the different elements, right? The text, the images, the artworks and all. But what if the customer tells you that in this example, everything is in a portrait format? What if the customer tell you, can you make it a landscape format? Now, if you have to totally make it a completely new artwork and reposition from the scratch. But if you're using InDesign, new features, it's very simple. So if I come to my properties panel, I don't select anything. I just come to my properties panel. There is an adjust layout feature. I click on adjust layout. And right now it shows my orientation is portrait. I'll make my orientation as landscape. I just enable my margins and I click on OK. And right away, you'll see that my artwork has automatically been converted into a landscape format, and automatically all of the elements have been repositioned. Most of them, which for example, this particular circle, I have to manually put it inside, but you see 99.99% of the things was taken care by InDesign. Okay, that's it about InDesign, what I wanted to show. I'm not able to see the questions in the chat. In fact, I don't see the chat panel at all. Let me see if there are any questions. If you can help me get that panel up. Keep on talking. Show chat, okay. I see a lot of +1 and I see a question. Could you show us some before after picture of internet is taking time to upload? Before after, I think I have one.
So next is which software after InDesign?
After InDesign, I would like to show Premiere Pro.
Okay. Will you be also talking on Adobe XD?
XD, okay, yeah. How many XD people are there in-house right now?
Not much, not many.
Yeah, so that's the reason I'll covering all the creative applications and then I'll touch upon XD. So that was my plan.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I do expect XD would be a lesser crowd because it's a creative crowd right now. Okay, one more thing. I have this feedback form which I'll be sharing after the end of the session. This will hardly take 20 seconds, but this is something important for us to know how this session went well or not, whatever it is. End of the session, I'll sharing this link with you, and I would really appreciate if you can share it with me. Okay, okay, so Premiere Pro. Or let me go as per the flow. Let me take XD right now, if that is the query. Okay, Adobe XD, people, if you're not aware what Adobe XD is, Adobe XD is basically a tool that will help you to create and you can design and you can create and you can share your prototypes. Now, you might not be aware what a prototype is. So for example, let's take an example of a Facebook app. Now, Facebook app, you click on the login button, you put your credentials, you log in, you're able to see your comments, you're able to upload your photos and all of that. But the developers, they directly did not went into coding the Photoshop, coding the Facebook application. First, they designed it with a pen and a paper of how the different screens would look. Then they came into a prototyping tool where they designed the user elements, like how the login button will look, where it will be on the screen, what are the different likes, how it would animate once you click on the like button. So once you click on the like button, if it's a birthday, there will be balloons popping up and all of that. So first it's created, the designs are created within an application. Then those designs, so using those designs, they create prototypes. Means if you click on some button, what will happen? If you click on that button, what will happen? So that is a prototype. Once the prototype is done, they share that prototype with the developers so that the developers can actually create a working model of your design. So you can create web applications, you can create, you can use XD just as a presentation tool. You can also create mobile applications and all of that. Let me show a simple example. But in terms of the new features, there are a lot of new features within XD. I would take 1 hour specifically to show the new features in XD, but let's see what I can show at least. So one of the big idea of having XD is that you have integrated libraries where you can create design systems. But I'm not sure if creative guys can understand design systems. One of the big features happened this year is that you also have 3D transformations available within XD. 3D transformation was not there earlier. Before I get into 3D transformation, let me give an idea what XD is. For example, this is one of the prototypes which I created when I was about to getting interviewed at Adobe. So this is a mobile application which I was trying to make. It's similar to an Amazon application where I log in clicking on this button, then it shows me my profile, then it shows me my profile here. This is my profile pic. This is some of the wish list of items, and these are some of the items I've added to my cart, and finally I place my orders. So if I talk about designs, you see that I've got these different design tools, and you see the interface is so many clear. So with these tools, you see that I'm able to create these text boxes, and I'm able to create these buttons. I've got this sign out button, but I click on sign out, it doesn't sign me out. It gives you a feeling of that I've signed out. Actually, if you want to sign out, you give it to a coder who will help you getting signed out. But this will give you a good idea of how your application would look before it is developed. So this is what XD does. Now you would say that why am I designing all these within Illustrator, within XD? I can do it within Photoshop, Illustrator. Yes, you can do it, but XD is a more specific application for prototyping, right? Because prototyping is a very recent industry. This was not there about 25 years ago when Photoshop and Illustrator were there, right? Because this is a new industry, and Adobe decided that we should have a dedicated application for this type of industries where people are creating and designing prototypes. The other advantage is that there are specific tools which are good for designing for these environments. For example, let's say, so this is simple. You can do this within your Illustrator, Photoshop, but what you can do within XD is, for example, I want to create a wish list. Not a problem. I can use my repeat grid tool here. So I'm talking generally about XD, not the max feature. This is for people who are not interested in XD, but still I want them to see what XD does. So with repeat grid, I can simply quickly make, let's say 5 copies, similarly to what we saw in Illustrator for iPad, right? So these are placeholders. So I'll keep it here. Then I'll come and drag one image, and I can have a t-shirt image here. I can have maybe a goggles image here. I can change the name. I can change the costing. But I don't want to do it manually. I can use Google Sheets as a plugin, and that Excel data will readily fit here. So if I come to my plugins, here I have a Google Sheet plugin where I can just have to upload a Google Sheet file. Now I do have a, yeah, so this, I do have a Excel sheet here. I'm not sure if you're able to see, but this gives me the different names of the items, the costing, and also the location of the image, which is there on the server. Okay, what I'll do is simply, I'll come to my plugin here, I'll load the file, and I have to select the file. I have to search for the file. I click open, click on apply, and all of the data is there within my wish list. I don't have to go each and every place and make all the changes. This is how cool XD is, right? So I can come here, and I can also make connections. If I click on this button, what screen will open up and how it will open up. For example, I'm on here. So this was designing. Prototyping is the next screen where I can make connections of where do I click and how it will take me to the next screen. So for example, if I click on place order, it will take me to this particular screen. So let me remove the connection here. So if I click on place order, it will take me to this particular. So these are artboards similar to what you have in Illustrator. So this will take me to the next screen. But how will it take? If I click on this particular button, which is tab, it will transition to the order placed artboard. This is the order placed artboard, right? So this way I have made all of the different connections. See what this one is. So this is time with voice. So this I'm connecting here, and I can say this is going to be a voice input, but voice, again, it will take my voice, it will go to the cloud and convert it into text, and it will match. So I'm not getting into voice. I'll simply go for a tab, and it will take me to the next screen. Okay, if I want to see this experience in a mobile, I'll select here, go to my preview, which will give me a feeling of how this would look in a mobile. So this is how it looks. So I click here, it'll take me to the next screen. I click on profile, it will show me my profile. If I click on the back button, it will take me back. I click on the wish list, it will take me to the wish list, where I'm able to scroll. I click on the cart, it takes me to the cart. I place my order, click on place order, my order is placed. So this prototype gives me a good experience of how this, so the developers will also come to know what is there in your plan, so that they will actually code and make this as a perfectly working model, mobile application, right? So this is what XD is. Now the new features in Mac that you have 3D transformations. So this one is, let's say this is a banking card, which is a front, and this is the back. Now here in the prototype, let me show the design first. So here you have this 3D transform available. You click on 3D transforms, and you will see that you'll be able to rotate this as if it's a the 3D object in space, right? This is something which is cool. So if I flip it, if I go to a prototype, which I've already done it. So if I click here, you'll see that it will flip. I click again, it flips back. So this is some of the new things which are added in the newer versions of XD. If I show you Adobe XD new features, help X, don't forget to type help X. What's new in Adobe XD? Now, I think, okay, so Adobe XD guys are not much in the house, but for people who want to see more things about Adobe XD, go to the Adobe Help X, or you can also go to letsxd.com. I lost the chat again. It's letsxd.com, LETS, letsxd.com. The other things is that the new features are, so just go through, there are not much people in house, but very quickly I want to jump to Illustrator, jump to Premiere Pro and After Effects. I just got half an hour around so far.
Can we work on side view in 3D?
Right.
in 3D through this 3D option, can we work on side view? There you show front and back. I want to edit, or we can say I want to show something side view.
Yeah, I got your point. So this is not possible in XD. Even what I showed you was not front and back. Basically, both were different pieces, and they were animated as if it's front and back. So it's not a 3D model where you can see the top, the side, the bottom, and all. So that is still not available.
That is not actual 3D option.
Only the 3D transformations are available, like rotate and back and forward and back. That is the only thing. No side view.
Okay, I understand.
See,
That's
you
just
can see-
like After
You can see the
Effects
side, but that
2.5.
will be a zero thickness, right? You can see the side, but it's a zero thickness.
Yeah, this is geo thickness.
Yeah.
Not actual. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I think it's good time I'll switch to Premiere Pro. Okay. Couple of things I'll be showing you. Oh, this is the feedback form. Premiere Pro is launching. Yeah. So a couple of things I want to show within Premiere Pro is that one is the brand new feature, which is automatic scene edit detection. And the second one is a little older feature around 6 months back, which is called as auto reframe. Both of these I'll be showing within Premiere. Okay, so what was the challenge is that, okay, my Premiere is launched. Okay, now first I'll show the auto reframe, then I'll go to the scene detect. Okay, now the challenge earlier was that, let's say this is the video that you have done for a film, which is 16:9, right? Which is 1920 by 1080. But nowadays, people are also making content for mobile. Now, if the same video where you see the horses are going from left to the right, if I do this for Instagram, I will not get the same output.
थोड़ा सा भी 5-10 मिनट का बच रहा है.
So if I come to sequence and go to sequence settings, and if I make this as a square, so if I make this 90/20,
एक बार करवा लो मुझे.
imagine that this is for Instagram. So this is 1920 1080 for film. If I make it as an Instagram, if I make it 1:1, yeah. Now this is the Instagram. This is the square composition. But you see, all the horses are gone. They're cut. By the time they come into frame, I don't understand what I'm trying to say as a filmmaker. So what I have to do is I have to go to my composition and manually bring all the horses inside. But imagine if there are if it's a complete 20-25 minutes videos, you'll become mad doing this manually. For this reason, we've got auto reframe. So if I go to my effects panel, I type reframe. You see auto reframe is there. Just drag and drop it onto the clip. Automatically the horses will be in place. So if I drag and drop it, yeah, you see the horses are in place and the horses are always in focus, even if the composition is different, right? You can also convert these into keyframes and you can later do all the manual adjustments. So you can click on override the generated path, and here you'll see that all the keyframes are generated so that you can come back, and if you want to control, you can still do that. So this was auto reframe. What I showed you right now was a clip level, but if you have a complete sequence, even you can do that. Let me show you how you can do it in a sequence. So if you want to do, imagine that there are 100 clips. You don't have to drag and drop it to multiple clips. Just go to sequence and click on, oh, sorry, I didn't click on the sequence here. Click on the sequence and click on auto reframe sequence, and automatically all of your clips will be reframed. How cool is this? And imagine how much time does it save. The second thing I want to show you is the scene detect. Now, there are many cases in which you will get the final film and then you have to make certain changes on certain portions of the film. Now, in this particular example, you see that this is the final film where this is the first shot, this is the second shot, this is the third shot, and I think possibly this is the last shot. So in this particular clip, there are 3 shots. If I want to work on the middle portion, the second shot, I have to actually go to the clip, identify where does it cut. So it's getting cut here. I'll make a cut here. I'll cut there. I'll come to the other portions, and then I'll have to make a cut there. And then I'll go to the selected clip, and then I make color adjustments. But imagine if you have a complete half-an-hour documentary, you will become mad cutting all the portions. Now you can do it very, very simply. So just right click onto this particular clip, and there is a feature called as scene edit detection. Wow. Click on the scene edit detection, click on analyze, and you'll automatically see that there will be 3 cuts. Yes, you see automatically identified that these are the 3 cuts. Go to any of the cuts wherever you want to change. In my example, I'll go to the color panel, and I want to work on some of the, maybe some of the, make it a little more reddish, or maybe I can work on the temperature. So the idea is that automatically the cuts are there. You can go back to any cut, and you can work on those corrections. So I can just come to one of the cuts, and I can make it more warmer. I can make it more exposed. So this is what is auto scene detect. Okay, I still have 15 minutes, but I still want to show you Aero because this is one of the asks, but I also want to show you After Effects and dimensions. So After Effects. Okay, so a couple of things there in After Effects in the new release. One is that if you know what is a roto brush, that got improved. It's called as Roto Brush 2. And one more thing I want to show you is that you can also use content aware fill. Now in Photoshop, if you know, you can use content aware fill to remove certain objects from an image, but in After Effects, you can use content aware fill to remove portions from a video. First, let's go back to the Roto Brush tool to show you how Roto Brush works. Okay, so this is one of the clips, and there is a text which I wrote on the back plate, run. Now I want to roto this particular person out, this particular kid who's running. Now roto brushing was always difficult. You have to create a mask, and every 2 or 3 frames you have to change the mask, but it's very simple now. Just click on this, you see this Roto Brush tool, click on the Roto Brush tool and make a rough selection around this character. So here I make a rough selection around, and oh, it went outside. But let me do it again very quickly. So I'll select rough on the legs. I'm just creating a wire around my character, and you'll see that that character will get selected. Yes, that's it. I go back to my comp, and you see that particular character, the entire video is now extracted, right? Now, there will be certain portions which we are not happy. For example, this particular frame, not a problem. You can still come back and you can remove these chunks, and you see that particular frame gets updated. So this way you can use a Roto brush. It is improved. Then I can come back to my composition, and I can bring up my.
By this tool, you are going to vanish out whole VFX industry.
No, we are not going to vanish.
Oh my God. Whole industry.
Exactly.
In fact, I would say this is going to complement the VFX industry, because there are people who are sitting whole night just creating every frame and try to remove the background.
Yes, exactly.
But this will make your process more simpler and faster, right? That is the idea. I would say it will complement rather than
Yes,
it will remove.
Yes.
Okay.
Great tool.
Yeah. So, okay. So this was about the Roto brush, and let me show you another cool feature. Don't tell me that we are going to vanish the VFX industry, because this is more better tool. Like I would say it's a more amazing tool than what is right now. That is called as, where is it called? Content aware fill for video. Now we saw how to remove, in fact, we know how to remove objects from a photo, but how do you remove objects from a video? For example, this is one of the clip. You see there is this road, and this cyclist is just driving. But if I tell you there was a car here, and I removed the car from the entire video, would you believe it? Let me show you the original footage. This was the original footage. There was a car on the road along with the cyclist. I removed the car, and this is the final output. So it was pretty simple for me. What I did is that I created a mask around the car. Then I won't be able to show the complete process, but you understand it. I create a mask here using my pen tool. Then I track the mask on the entire car. So you see the mask is sitting on top of the car. Then I went onto my mask and I actually make it as a subtract mask, meaning I created a hole within the video. Then I come to content aware fill for video here, which is already available there. If I search content aware fill, yeah, here it is. You see that it identified the hole and I just have to click on generate fill layers. Now using that artificial intelligence, it will identify that which pixels it will pull up from the road and put it on the car so that the car will disappear. And I'll show you that output. This is the road pixels. This is the pixels that After Effects created, which is sitting on top of the car. So this is sitting on top of the car and you see the car is gone. Right, so this was the idea, content aware fill. Okay, so these are the two things which I wanted to show within After Effects, and I think students are now excited to go back and try these features. But a couple of other things I want to show is I still have 10-15 minutes. So I want to show Adobe Dimensions very quickly in 10 minutes. And then from Dimension, I'll show you Adobe Aero. Okay, before I go to Dimension, there is another product called as iPad. We have got Adobe Rush for iPad. It's basically
Sir, there is any render solution? Actually, video is making okay, but it's very taking long time for rendering, and also the file is too big. This is a problem we are facing in Adobe After Effects and Adobe Premiere Pro. So, any specified settings or any specified, because when we are rendering half an hour video, its render output file is around 120 GB, 130 GB.
Okay, so make sure your output settings are correct. Try using H.265 instead of H.264. Try using H.265. That is giving you a better quality and your file sizes will be less. Plus, you can make sure that to get a better performance, make sure your graphic drivers are updated.
So the graphic driver is okay because when we are just going to rendered, so there is option like hardware rendering or graphic card rendering. There is two options inside.
Yeah.
So what we are using is better for us.
If your graphic card supports, then I would recommend go for a hardware rendering because it's actually using your graphic card capabilities to render your video. But you make sure that your graphic card is compatible with your Premiere Pro and After Effects. So you can
graphic card
is
because we have an 8 GB and 16 GB graphic card. But when we are just rendering the 256 render, the file size is 76 GB, 78 GB. But when we are going to render in Final Cut Pro FCP, so file output is too less and good quality. So this is works, I think, in Adobe.
But you check what are the export settings for both. Check the export settings for FCP. Put that export setting within After Effects and see After Effects will also give you a decent quality because those presets and these presets might be different. Make sure that you are using the same export settings. Just try it out.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now let's get into Dimensions now. So Adobe Dimension is actually one of the 3D solutions of Adobe. Now Adobe was always into 2D like Photoshop, Illustrator, and Design. You can also do some level of good level of 3D within Photoshop. But taking to a next step, now how will a Photoshop guy use Adobe Dimension as a tool? For example, as a Photoshop guy, if I tell him, hey, you have to work on 3D, he'll get a little bit afraid because 3D is a completely different scenario for a 2D guy to jump into 3D. But Dimension, you see, it's a very simple product. And even a Photoshop guy can very, very quickly learn Dimension. Now, Dimension, what is the use of Dimension? With Dimension, you can actually create a 3D prototyping. What we saw in XD, what's a 2D prototype for mobile or a website. Here, you can make 3D prototypes. For example, let's say it's a COVID situation, and I, as a 3D artist, I want to create a packaging of a medicine. How do I create that? I'm not a 3D artist. So what I can do is I have in Dimensions, I've got all of these ready assets with me. If my friend has created a 3D, I can bring that 3D with a Dimension, not a problem. But you see that I have okay, I'm just taking some random 3D object here. It's a food can, but imagine that this is a medicine. So this food can, I'll bring it into Dimensions and I can place it here. Next step is I have to put textures on the food can, right? So I can go to my library and I've got some libraries available, Dimension asset. So here I can put a logo of the medicine. So I've already got this logo intact. I just drag and drop it onto my object. And you see that this logo is now a part of my medicine, right? Also, I can put the label cover. I'll put it here on top. And this graphic will go behind. Similarly, in Photoshop, you have layers. Here also you have layers. Now you'll see that the logo is actually sitting on top of this artwork. So imagine that this is a medicine, right? There's another artwork which I can pull up here. Yeah, that's it. I was able to do this being a Photoshop 2D artist. I don't need to be a 3D expert. Okay, how will I take this to the next step? Now I want to put this medicine on the table of the doctor who's prescribing. Now I cannot go outside because COVID situation is there. So I can use Adobe stock image. So this is one of the images which I already bought. I'll click so that that image will be on the backdrop, and I can just put this on the table. So now it looks like he's actually but it doesn't actually look it's on the table. How will you do it? You have to be a camera expert, but you don't need to because you are using Adobe Dimension. Simply, what you can do is just come to the scene, and here there is an option called as match image. You click on match image, automatically the perspective and everything is taken care of, and your object, you can place it on the table. So click on match image, and I'll also match with the camera perspective. Also the lighting will match depending on the camera. Click on OK, bang on. You see the reflections are coming, the shadows are there, and it's actually on the table, right? You just come here, scale it down. Oh, that's too much. You got the idea, right? This was scale, sorry. So if I constrain my scale, yeah, you will see that now this is actually on his desk. Now this doesn't look photorealistic. You want to make a photorealistic? No problem. Click on this button, and now it will render out with soft shadows and reflections. So this is making you a very good photorealistic output. And you can also come to render with this particular button on the render tab, and you can render out a PSD or a JPEG with all the different layers intact. So this was Adobe Dimension, but I can still take it to a next step. How can on my desk right now, on my laptop, let's say, what I'll do is I will remove the background. I'll select my can. Now it also depends on my internet speed, but let's give it a try. I can export this out to Aero, and I can also bring up my iPad application here. Yeah, this is my iPad application. I can click on Aero. Okay, by the time Aero comes up, let me export this for Aero. So I'll come to File, Export, select it for Aero, and it's getting processed. I click on Export. I click on Can. Click on Save. It's getting saved on my Creative Cloud files. Okay, by the time it exports, let me open up Aero and show you how Aero works. Oh, my internet is not connected. Okay, I'm just connecting to my Wi-Fi quickly. Yeah, so this is Adobe Aero. Now, Adobe Aero is actually used for augmented reality. Now I can actually have this can on my desk. My desk is a bit messy, but let me try. So I create a new, and I'm just trying to identify a surface. So this is my surface. It identified a surface. Now I have to bring that object, that can that I exported. So I click on the plus button. I click on Creative Cloud, and the can should be here. Let me check. Yeah, this is the can. Yes, I open the can. I click here. The can will be downloaded anytime. So if you see on the top here, it's downloading that particular asset. The idea is that once the can is on place, I can actually see the can as if it's there right now on my laptop. Okay, half of the thing is done. 50% is downloaded. Now this is not an animated can, but you can also get animated assets. So I do have one animated asset. I'll show that. But before that, I can also open up Character Animator and show you a quick glimpse of what that does. So after the Aero demo, quickly for a couple of minutes, I'll show you Character Animator, in which you can easily create 2D character animations. It was not in plan, but I think this is something very exciting for people to know Character Animator. We also have Adobe Substance, which can help you create 3D materials. Okay, so the can is there. It's pretty big. I can just scale it down. And this is how the can looks. It's actually on my, oh, this was a different can, by the way, not the can which I exported. Maybe by mistake, I opened up some other can, but you see that the same way I can export can and bring it into Aero. So as a student, if I have some projects which I'm working, I can actually see how that project would look in real time. So this way I can actually see how the project is actually looking onto my real environment. This is what Aero does. Okay, so that was a quick glimpse about Adobe Aero. Adobe Aero is available for iPad and iPhone, not on any other devices so far. Okay, I think my time is up, but I'll take a couple of minutes to show you Character Animator. Also, I'll see the chat if there are any questions. Okay, so what Character Animator is that it is a tool that will help me to make character animations very, very simple. Now, Animate is there, which is always like creating the traditional way of creating 2D animations. But if it's something specific to Character Animator does a good thing, especially in live shows where you want a character to act depending on how you are acting. Let's take an example. So this is one of the characters called as Tull. These are some ready characters you can just install, and these readily you can use these characters. So click on the character Tull, and the character is getting into my scene. This is the rig of the character, how the character looks. But if you click on record, you see that I am placing myself onto the camera. I also enable my mic, and you see that the way I blink, he's also blinking. The way I move, he's also moving, right? So this way I can make all of these expressions. Also, there are certain triggers available. So here there are triggers for left hand, right hand. So I can create these triggers, and I can also make facial expressions with keyboard shortcuts. So if I press on 1, wow, 2, 3. So these are some of the facial expressions that you can control. You can also control some of the hand movements. So there are something called as Q. You see it points out. R is for right hand, Q is for left hand. Also, there are certain gestures which I was able to create. So this is one of the gestures. C is one of the gestures and all. So this way you can create. So Character Animator is very exciting. Just go to Character Animator, just Google out, go to the Adobe Character Animator website. There are certain very basic tutorials. Very simply, you can create your own characters. You can also take this character to Photoshop, change the color of the character, and that will also update within your Character Animator. Let's say I want to put a Corona mask on this character. I can just come to rig. Let me try this. I can go to edit. One is, edit original, right? So I click on edit original. This will open up in Photoshop. I can draw a Corona mask, and this mask will come back into Character Animator, and then I can animate the character. So if I come here, this is the head, right? So here I create a new layer. I'll quickly come and draw a mask. It's a very fancy mask, but I'll make it little less opacity. Come here and make a green color border for a mask. Okay. So I'll just press on Command S to save the file. I go back to Character Animator, and the mask should come up. Where are you? Mask come up. Did I save the file? File, save. Oh, it's a nested layer. Okay, no worries. So I'm saving the file. I come back to Character Animator, and yes, now the mask will come up. It's analyzing, and there is a mask. If I go back to record, you see my rig is now updated with the mask. Finally, what I can do is I can press the record button and all of the performance will be captured. So let's do a quick record. This is the final round of my session. So I'll just give a thank you note using Character Animator. Okay, I'm pressing on this record button. Hi, everyone. Thanks for your time. This was Chetan Jadhav from my side, and I hope you enjoyed, and good luck using Adobe applications. Thank you so much and have a nice day. I can also have a wave. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see how this came up. I'm playing play. I don't know if you're able to hear the timeline audio, but let me hit a play. Hi, everyone. Thanks for your time. This was Chetan Jadhav from my side, and I hope you enjoyed, and good luck using Adobe applications. Thank you so much and have a nice day. I can also have a wave. Thank you so much. I'm not sure if that came out well, that side. But let me know if you have any questions. I hope this was informative. I was not able to show Adobe Fresco, which is Adobe's painting application. I was not able to show Adobe Substance, which is Adobe's has acquired this company called as Algorithmic, in which you can create materials and you can create realistic materials and you can use it in your 3D applications.
Chetan, I have a question.
Yeah.
So how do you decide on upgrading the software? How often? What is the time frame? And when do you upgrade the software? How do you decide on the new features? Do you take the feedbacks? What are the mechanisms to take the feedback? If I want some new features in your new version of Adobe Photoshop, how shall I pass such information to you?
Yeah, so there is this website called as Adobe Bug Report form. So if you have any problems, you can use the same link. If you want to suggest a feature, still you can use the same link. So this is the feature request bug form, where you can actually select a product and you can talk about what are you looking out for. So you can select the product. So let's say you want something in, let's say, Premiere Pro. Just select Premiere Pro, go to the next screen, and you can request a feature. If this feature is something which the engineering team really feels that, oh, this is a very common request, many people are asking, so that they can go back and try to get that feature in the product. So this is the process actually. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, that's good. But if any feature that is kind of very revolutionary, it's kind of very extra. So do Adobe also acknowledge and give credit to the one who has given the feedback?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
My suggestion is improving your product, is improving your sale. So will I get any acknowledgement or any kind of...
I have no idea of that. But generally there is this forum available in which all the thousands of people, they suggest a feature, then the team will really see which is a common feature that many people are requesting. For example, the scene detect. Scene detect was expected from quite some time, and there were so many people around the globe. Then they consolidated that, and then the feature was, so it's not like one person said that feature should be there and the feature was incorporated. This is what my understanding is. But we'll try to see which is a very common request, which will really save a lot of time and complexity. So
yeah,
I'm not able to answer it 100% in terms of...
as of now, it's good. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Chetan, this question is about the difference between animate and character animator. So if I'm creating a character in animate and then exporting it to character animator, is it the pathway, or you are doing it like in Photoshop, designing it in Photoshop and then coming it to character animator? How it is work?
Yeah. So animate and character animator both are separate tools. What you can do is you start with Photoshop, you design the character, you bring that into character animator, you do a performance, you export a video out of that, maybe a Swift file or maybe any. That video you bring it into animate. Or you may not come to animate. You can just finish up within character animator. So you can have a backstage, you can have multiple characters, you have all the animation controls, you can create behaviors, you can create triggers, you can create replays. A lot of things are there. You may not want to come back to animate. If it's specific to performance and character animation, character animator is your tool. But if you want like some text animation, some whatever normal animation that we see on the website, that is done in animate.
Animate.
But if you want a combination, Photoshop, character animator, and animate can together work on that. The unique thing about character animator is the facial capture, the triggers. You just have to animate it once, and you can use triggers to call the animation, like waving animation or
And
some other
does
animation.
it make it possible to do the motion capture thing of
No.
hand gesture and no?
You actually use, for example, if I want to wave like this, I
Yeah.
can have a mouse, I can pick up my hand and I can wave. Let's say wave for a right hand. Similarly, I can record the wave for the left hand, and I can bring both of the hands together and I can wave. So you can go to different parts. You can have your mouse to control the animation. You record that animation and you club all the animations together to get a single performance. So this is the, so I think there are a lot much things you can do within Character Animator. It's very exciting tool, very simple, and I think you will love enjoying using Character Animator. However, I don't see any smiling faces. I hope they were able to get something out of today's session.
Yeah, actually, students are familiar with Photoshop, Illustrator, but this animation and this XD is not new for many of the students.
Yeah.
That's
So in
right.
fact,
But
that was one of the,
it was very engaging. You gave a very quick
Yeah.
and
yeah,
good
it was
intro.
one of the, it was one of the intent of this session. I'll show you what you want, but also I'll show you something which people are not aware of, so that you and your students know what is happening in the current scenario, so that you can have in your resume, you can say, I know Character Animator.
You are
And
right.
when they see, hey, he knows Character Animator, that is something which people are not even aware of. So this will give you a better hand over the other institutions and other people around.
Chetan, I have a question. So I wanted to ask if I missed the Adobe XD part, but I'm familiar with how it goes. Wanted to ask, there's another competitor there called Webflow. Have you heard of Webflow?
I've heard of it, but it is not a tough competitor to Adobe anyways. But you can tell me a query. I can help you with that.
So what I wanted to ask is that does Adobe XD work parallelly with CMS, like coding? Can you also parallelly code, or it's just graphical?
It's just a graphical, but but it does help the developers. So what you can do is, once you're done with your prototype, you have to share the prototype. When you share the prototype, you select the developers option to share, so that when the developers will get your prototype, they will actually see the CSS snippets, right? And that they can use it in their code.
Like to the navigation structure of the CSS code. Is that what you're referring to? Like the tree or the linking that you're creating throughout multiple pages, buttons or flows that you're creating through XD.
So the links will be there, the snippets are there, so you don't have to type it again, you just have to copy paste it into your code. So that is how it makes simpler for the coding structure. Now what happens is that the programmer doesn't have to call up or email the designer, hey, can you share me that logo, or can you share me that transition? You share the entire prototype, that's it, your job is done. So this is how simple it makes between the designer and the coders. Also you can make different resolutions of a design. So if you are sharing a full res, but the developer might not need a full res, he will not call you up saying that, hey Aman, can you give me a full res? No, he will down compress it there itself. So this is a good workflow between the developers and the designers using XD. I hope I was able to answer part of portions of your question.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah.
Guys, any question for Chetan? Thank you, Mr. Chetan Jadhav. Thank you so much for coming. And it was a very great and engaging session. Thank you so much for the